The wind cut through the alley behind the bus station before sunrise. Maya Bennett pulled a borrowed winter coat tighter around her chest. The coat smelled faintly like old detergent and cigarette smoke. Her fingers were numb. Her stomach hurt from being empty. She stood there, staring at her reflection in a dark store window, and barely recognized herself. She was 32 years old. 3 years earlier, she had owned a small townhouse on the south side of Chicago. Now she owned a backpack, a cracked phone, a library card, and a winter coat that wasn't even hers. A city bus hissed past on State Street. The yellow lights reflected off patches of dirty snow. Maya watched it disappear. She didn't know it yet, but that coat would witness the exact moment poverty stopped defining her future. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. The cold made her eyes water. She walked toward the shelter before breakfast ended. The smell hit first: coffee, bleach, white clothes drying on radiators. The shelter workers already knew her name. That mattered more than people might think. Being remembered mattered. "Morning, Maya," said Linda at the front desk. "Morning. You sleep okay?" Maya shrugged. "Been worse." Linda smiled. "Coffee's fresh. That's the best news I've heard all week." Linda laughed. Small moments like that kept Maya moving, not because they fixed anything, because they reminded her she still existed. Inside the dining room, people sat quietly with paper cups. Some stared at walls. Some stared at phones. Some stared at nothing. Maya filled a cup. The coffee was weak. It was also hot. Right then, that was enough. She sat beside an older man named Walter. Walter had been homeless longer than anyone wanted to admit. He nodded toward her coat. "Still wearing that thing?" "It works." "Looks 3 sizes too big." "Then it matches my life." Walter laughed hard enough to cough. For a moment, the room felt warmer. Then reality returned. It always did. After breakfast, Maya walked to the public library. That was part of her routine, no matter how bad things got. Every morning, library. Every afternoon, job applications. Every evening, a notebook. She never skipped the notebook. Years earlier, she had started writing goals inside it. Now the notebook looked rough. The cover was bent, pages were loose, but she still carried it everywhere. Inside were hundreds of entries: job ideas, budgets, dreams, mistakes, promises, things she wanted to remember, things she wanted to forget. She sat at a computer near the back window. Outside, Chicago looked gray and tired. Inside, she searched for work, again and again and again. Warehouse jobs, reception jobs, customer service jobs, anything, everything. She applied for 12 positions before lunch. Most would never answer. She already knew that. The gaps on her resume scared employers away. The address line scared them too. No address, no apartment, no home. People noticed. People always noticed. At noon, her phone buzzed. The battery showed 11%. The screen was cracked across one corner. The caller ID made her stomach tighten. Her younger brother, Ethan. She answered immediately. "Hey." "Hey, sis." His voice sounded rushed, like always. "How are you?" she asked. "I'm okay." Silence. Then more silence. She knew what it meant. He felt guilty. Everyone felt guilty. Family members often did. Helping someone for months felt different than helping for years. People got tired, even good people. "You don't have to send anything," Maya said. "I know. You already helped enough." Another pause. "You eating okay?" She smiled despite herself. That question always came first. Mostly. Mostly ain't an answer. "I'll survive." "I know you will." The call ended a minute later. Maya stared at the phone. Her brother loved her. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that love couldn't pay rent. 3 years earlier, she never imagined life becoming this. Back then, she worked at a medical billing company downtown. Nothing fancy, but steady, good benefits, reliable paycheck. She had a little townhouse, a used Honda Civic, a decent credit score. Friday takeout, Sunday football. A normal life. Then came a Tuesday she would never forget. The company called everyone into a conference room. People whispered. Managers looked nervous. Nobody smiled. The room felt wrong. The second Maya saw the boxes near the wall, she knew. An executive cleared his throat. The words came fast. Restructuring, budget reductions, position elimination, business needs, corporate language, cold language, language that changed lives. Maya sat frozen. Her name was on the list, so were dozens of others. 20 minutes later, she carried a cardboard box through the lobby. Family photos, coffee mug, desk plant, everything from 8 years of work fit inside. Snow fell outside that day too. Funny how she remembered that. The cold, the silence, the embarrassment. She drove home and cried in her car. That was the last normal afternoon of her life. At first, she wasn't worried. She had savings, a little. She had unemployment, for a while. She had confidence, lots of it. She believed another job would come quickly. It didn't. Months passed. Interviews happened, then disappeared. Applications vanished into silence. Savings shrank. Bills stayed. Rent stayed. Car payment stayed. Life stayed expensive. One rejection became 10. 10 became 50. Then one disaster arrived after another. Her mother got sick. Maya helped with expenses. The Honda needed repairs. Then the water heater failed. Then a credit card filled up. Then another. The debt spread quietly, like water through a cracked ceiling. By the time Maya understood the damage, she was drowning. The final blow came from a hospital bill, one emergency room visit, one unexpected diagnosis, thousands of dollars. She stared at the envelope for hours. The amount felt unreal. She paid what she could. It wasn't enough. Nothing was enough anymore. The townhouse disappeared 6 months later. She packed everything she owned into a storage unit. The day she handed over the keys felt worse than losing the job. Jobs could return. Home felt different. Home felt permanent. Or at least it was supposed to. The manager waited politely while she cried. Then she walked away. Just walked away. A life reduced to a storage unit, a backpack, and hope she couldn't afford to lose. The library announced closing time. Maya blinked. Hours had passed. She saved a few job listings, packed her notebook, walked outside. Snowflakes drifted through the air. The borrowed coat blocked some of the cold, not all of it. The coat came from a church donation table. She found it last winter. It was too large. The zipper barely worked. One sleeve was slightly longer. Still, it was warm, and warm mattered. That evening, she sat at a fast food restaurant nursing a small coffee, $1.29, enough to stay inside a while. Teenagers laughed nearby. A family shared fries. Workers rushed behind the counter. Life kept moving. She sometimes felt invisible watching it, like she stood behind glass, close enough to see normal life, too far away to touch. A little girl at a nearby table looked over. The child smiled. Maya smiled back. The girl returned to her meal. The moment lasted 3 seconds, but Maya carried it for hours. Strange how tiny kindnesses worked. Strange how much they mattered. The shelter was full that night. Every bed taken. Winter always made things harder. She found her bunk, set down her backpack, opened her notebook. That notebook had become a lifeline. Most nights she wrote one thing, just one, something she still believed. Some entries were short. Tomorrow matters. Keep going. Don't quit today. One page held the same sentence written 20 times. You're still here. That night she stared at the paper, then wrote something different. I want a place with a window again. Simple dream. Nothing huge. Not wealth. Not luxury. A window. A place to sit. A key in her pocket. She closed the notebook. The lights dimmed. People settled into bites. Someone snored. Someone cried quietly. Someone whispered a prayer. The sounds blended together. Maya pulled the coat over herself like an extra blanket. Sleep came slowly. Morning arrived too fast. The days blurred together after that. Applications, waiting, rejection. Applications, waiting, silence. One afternoon she got an interview, a real one. Her heart raced. She borrowed a nicer shirt, printed a resume, practiced answers. She arrived 20 minutes early. The office smelled like fresh carpet. A hiring manager greeted her. Everything seemed promising. Then he saw the employment gap. The room changed. Not dramatically, just enough. She knew the look. She had seen it before. The interview ended quickly. 3 days later, the rejection email arrived. She deleted it, then sat quietly for an hour. No tears. She was too tired for tears. A week later, another opportunity appeared, then vanished, then another, then vanished. Each one hurt a little differently. Each one left a mark. Spring arrived. The snow disappeared. Rain replaced it. The city smelled wet and muddy. Maya spent afternoons at a workforce center. They offered free classes, resume help, job leads, computer access. One counselor there remembered her name. His name was Greg. He wore old sweaters, drank too much coffee, and treated people like human beings. That alone made him different. One afternoon, he sat across from her. "You ever think about training programs?" "Sure." "I'm serious." "So am I." He leaned forward. "You've got skills. I've got overdue bills. You've got both." She laughed. Greg slid a flyer across the table. A community college program, short-term certification, business software, data management, night classes, affordable. Maya stared at it. Affordable for who? There's aid. She looked away. School felt impossible. Rent wasn't even possible. Still, the flyer went into her notebook. She would think about it later. That evening, rain hammered against shelter windows. Maya sat beside Walter again. "You look worried," he said. "Just thinking. Dangerous habit." She smiled. "Maybe." Walter nodded toward her notebook. "You still writing?" "Every day." "Good. Why?" "People who stop planning usually stop believing." She thought about that all night. People who stop planning usually stop believing. The sentence stuck. Weeks passed. Summer crept into Chicago. The air grew heavy. Shelters became crowded. Tempers got shorter. One afternoon, Maya visited her storage unit. She did that sometimes, just to remember. Inside sat pieces of another life. Kitchen dishes, holiday decorations, photo albums, books, old furniture, dreams wrapped in plastic. Dust floated through sunlight. The smell reminded her of cardboard and time. She found a photo. Thanksgiving, years earlier. Her mother laughing, Ethan holding a turkey platter, Maya smiling. Back when everything felt steady. She sat on the floor holding that picture. For a few minutes, she almost broke. Almost. Not quite. Then she carefully returned it to the box, locked the unit, walked away. A train rumbled nearby. The sound echoed through the summer air. She had no idea what was coming next. One evening, Greg called. That surprised her. Counselors didn't usually call. "Hey, Maya. Everything okay?" Maybe. Maybe. Such a small word, yet it made her heart race. "I heard about something," he said. "What kind of something?" "A nonprofit downtown." She listened. "They're starting a pilot program." "For what?" "Paid training." Her grip tightened around the phone. Paid. That word mattered. A lot. "How paid?" "Not much." "Still." "Yeah." Greg paused. "They're only taking a few people." Maya looked out the shelter window. The sky glowed orange over the city. Traffic moved below. Life moving. Always moving. "What do I need to do?" she asked. "Show up." That's it. That's the first step. The call ended. She sat quietly afterward. Not excited. Not yet. Life had taught her caution. Too many opportunities vanished. Too many promises dissolved. Still, something felt different. Just a little. The next morning, she woke before sunrise. She put on the borrowed coat, even though the weather was warm. It felt lucky somehow. The fabric hung loose around her shoulders. The zipper stuck halfway. The sleeve still looked ridiculous. She wore it anyway. Then she walked toward downtown Chicago. Past busy streets. Past coffee shops. Past people rushing to jobs. The city buzzed around her. Cars honked. Train tracks rattled. The smell of street food drifted through the air. She carried her notebook under one arm, her backpack on one shoulder, and hope she barely trusted. The nonprofit office occupied an old brick building. Nothing fancy, just clean, Simple, real. Several people waited inside. Some looked nervous. Some looked tired. Most looked familiar. People from shelters, workforce centers, places where second chances gathered. A woman at the front desk smiled. Name? Maya Bennett. The woman checked a list, then smiled again. You're expected. Those two words landed differently than she expected. You're expected. Not tolerated, not processed. Expected. Maya took a seat. The borrowed winter coat rested across her lap. She watched sunlight spill through the windows. People chatted quietly nearby. A man introduced himself. A woman offered a smile. Nothing dramatic happened. Nothing life-changing. Not yet. But for the first time in a very long time, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Like she might be standing at the edge of a door, and that door might actually open. Maya sat in that chair and tried not to get ahead of herself. Hope had fooled her before. Hope had shown up wearing nice clothes. Hope had shaken her hand. Then Hope had disappeared without calling back. She knew how that worked. The room slowly filled. About 20 people waited together. Some looked older than her. Some looked younger. One man wore steel-toe boots with holes near the laces. A woman held a sleeping toddler. Another guy kept checking his phone every 30 seconds. Everyone carried something invisible. Stress, fear, bills, regret. The weight looked different on each person. A woman stepped to the front of the room. She introduced herself as Karen. She wasn't dressed like a corporate executive. No expensive suit, no polished speech, just practical clothes and kind eyes. Thank you for coming, she said. Her voice filled the room. We know life hasn't been easy. Nobody spoke. We also know talent doesn't disappear when someone loses housing. That got people's attention. Karen continued. This program teaches data management and business software. Maya listened carefully. Participants would train for 3 months. They would receive a small weekly stipend. Job placement support followed. Nothing was guaranteed. Nothing was promised, but it was real. Maya could feel it. Real opportunities had a different smell, a different weight. They didn't rely on magic. They relied on work. Applications were handed out. Pens clicked. People bent over forms. Maya wrote carefully. Every word mattered. When she reached employment history, she paused. That section always hurt. So many years reduced to empty spaces. Still, she filled it out. No excuses, no hiding, just truth. Before leaving, Karen stopped her. Maya? Yes? Karen held the application. You worked medical billing? I did. For how long? 8 years. Karen nodded slowly. That's useful experience. Useful. Nobody had called her experience useful in a long time. Most people treated her past like damaged goods. Karen saw something else. Maya walked out into the afternoon sun. The city looked brighter somehow. Not different, just brighter. A week later, she got the call. She stood outside a convenience store when her phone rang. The battery sat at 8%. The screen flickered. She almost missed it. Hello? Hi, Maya. This is Karen. Maya stopped walking. Traffic rushed around her. A bus hissed nearby. She barely heard it. We'd like to offer you a spot. Everything became quiet. Not literally, just inside her head. We'd like to offer you a spot. Those words echoed. Maya? I'm here. Would you still like it? She laughed unexpectedly, a laugh mixed with relief and disbelief. Yes. Good. The call ended. Maya stood there, staring at the sidewalk. People walked around her. Nobody knew what had happened. Nobody knew she had just received the first real opportunity in years. She sat on a nearby bench. Then she cried. Not loudly, just enough. Sometimes relief hurts on its way out. That night, Walter noticed immediately. You got news. Maya smiled. Maybe. Walter pointed. That's not a maybe smile. She told him. Every detail. The classes, the stipend, the possibility. Walter listened carefully, then nodded. Good. That's it? What else should I say? I don't know. He smiled. I told you that notebook mattered. Maya laughed. For the first time in months, the future felt bigger than tomorrow. The program started the following Monday. The classroom occupied the second floor of the nonprofit building. Rows of computers lined the walls, whiteboards covered with notes. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Nothing fancy, nothing impressive, yet Maya loved every inch of it. The first day felt awkward. Many students carried similar stories: lost jobs, medical debt, evictions, bad breaks, bad decisions, sometimes both. Nobody needed long explanations. Everyone understood. The instructor was named Daniel, a former IT manager, patient, funny, practical. He treated people like professionals, not charity cases. That mattered. On the third day, Daniel walked past Maya's workstation. "You learn quickly." She looked up. "Really? Really? I feel lost half the time." "So does everybody." That helped, more than he knew. Weeks passed. Maya developed a routine: class during the day, library afterward, shelter at night, notebook before sleep. Every day, every day, every day. Progress came slowly, sometimes painfully. Some software felt confusing. Some assignments took hours. But she stayed after class, asked questions, practiced more, kept going. The old version of Maya had expected quick results. Homelessness changed that. Now she understood small steps. Small steps saved people. One afternoon, Daniel called her over. "Can you help Jeremy?" Jeremy sat frustrated at another computer. Maya moved beside him. "What happened?" "This thing heats me." She smiled. "No, it's just confused." 20 minutes later, they fixed the problem. Jeremy grinned. "Thanks." "No problem." Daniel watched from across the room. Maya didn't notice, but he did. Helping came naturally to her. Leadership often hides inside kindness. 3 weeks later, Karen approached her after class. "You ever think about mentoring?" Maya laughed. "Me? Yes, you." "I'm trying to survive." Karen smiled. "Sometimes those people become the best mentors." Maya carried those words home. They stayed with her. The first setback arrived during August. Her storage unit bill increased. Only a little, still enough. Every dollar mattered. She sat at a library computer, staring at numbers. The math wouldn't work. Not easily. The stipend covered food, transportation, basic needs. Barely. Nothing extra remained. Stress returned. The familiar kind. The kind that tightens your chest. The kind that steals sleep. For 3 nights, she barely rested. Then she made a choice. She sold some furniture from the storage unit. The decision hurt. Those pieces represented another life. A dining table, a bookshelf, a dresser. She listed them online. People bought them quickly. Watching strangers carry them away felt strange, like watching pieces of memory leave. Still, the bill got paid, and the program continued. That mattered more. Sometimes survival requires letting go, even when it hurts. September arrived. The air cooled. Leaves changed color. Chicago prepared for another winter. Maya noticed something unexpected. People in class started asking for her help. Not instructors, students. "Can you explain this? What did Daniel mean? Can you show me?" The requests increased weekly. Without realizing it, she had become one of the stronger students. One afternoon, she called Ethan. "I think I'm actually good at this." "You sound surprised." "I am." "You were always smart." "No." "Yes." "No." He laughed. "See? Still arguing." She laughed too, then grew quiet. "I forgot what confidence felt like." The line stayed silent. Then Ethan spoke softly. "I never forgot." That call stayed with her. Some people remember your worth when you can't. October brought interviews. Practice interviews first, then real ones. The nonprofit partnered with local businesses. Graduates would compete for openings. Nothing guaranteed. Still, the possibility felt real. Maya ironed her borrowed interview clothes, practiced answers in shelter bathrooms, memorized examples, prepared endlessly. The first interview went badly, very badly. She stumbled over answers, talked too fast, forgot important details. The rejection arrived 2 days later. It hurt, more than she expected. She sat alone at a bus stop afterward. Wind scattered leaves across the sidewalk. A fast food bag rolled through the street. The city looked tired. So did she. For 1 hour, she considered quitting. Not permanently, just mentally. She was exhausted, tired of climbing, tired of hoping, tired of starting over. Everyone knows that feeling. Not homelessness, not poverty, just that moment. The moment where effort keeps leaving empty-handed. The moment where stopping seems easier. She sat there staring at traffic, then opened her notebook. The pages fluttered in the wind. An old entry caught her eye. "You're still here." Just those words, written years earlier. Nothing fancy, nothing profound. Yet they landed exactly right. You're still here. She closed the notebook, stood up, and kept moving. The second interview went better. Not perfect, better. The third interview felt promising, then disappeared. No callback. No explanation, no answer. Another door closed. Maya hated how familiar that felt. Still, she kept showing up. November arrived. Cold returned. The city changed color. Gray skies, sharp wind, heavy coats. One morning, Maya pulled on the same borrowed winter coat. The coat, the one from the church table, the one that had followed her through nearly 2 years. The sleeves still hung too long, the zipper still fought back. Yet she loved it, because it reminded her how far she'd come. Not far enough, but farther. That afternoon, Daniel asked her to stay after class. Her stomach tightened. People rarely enjoy hearing those words. She sat across from him. The classroom had emptied. Only fluorescent lights remained. Daniel folded his hands. "I've been talking with a company." Maya waited. "They need someone." She stayed quiet. "Entry-level data coordinator." The room felt smaller. "They're interested in meeting you." Interested, not guaranteed. Interested. Still, interested sounded beautiful. What company? Daniel told her. A logistics firm near downtown. Growing business, stable, real opportunity. Maya tried not to smile too quickly. She failed. Daniel laughed. "You earned this interview." "I haven't earned anything yet." "Yes, you have." The interview happened 3 days later. The office overlooked the Chicago River. Large windows, clean desks, busy employees. The kind of place Maya once believed she'd never enter again. A manager named Rachel greeted her. They talked for nearly an hour. Work history, training, skills, challenges. At one point, Rachel asked about the employment gap. Maya braced herself, then answered honestly. No rehearsed speech, no excuses, just truth. She explained the layoff, the debt, the homelessness, the training program, everything. Rachel listened, really listened. When Maya finished, Rachel nodded. "Sounds like you've had a hard few years." "Yeah, but you're still standing." Maya smiled slightly. "Barely." Rachel smiled back. "Still counts." The interview ended. Days passed. No call, no email, nothing. Thanksgiving arrived. The shelter served turkey, mashed potatoes, pie. Volunteers smiled. People tried to be cheerful. Maya appreciated it. She really did. Still, holidays hurt sometimes, especially when life isn't where you hoped. She called Ethan. He invited her over. She declined. Not because she didn't want to go, because pride still lived inside her. Strong pride, stubborn pride. She wanted the next Thanksgiving to feel different. After the meal, she walked outside. Cold air filled her lungs. The city glowed with holiday lights. Families gathered behind warm windows. Cars moved through busy streets. Maya stood alone beneath a street lamp. Her borrowed coat wrapped tightly around her. Snowflakes drifted downward. Slow, quiet, beautiful. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. An email notification. Nothing more, just an email. Yet her heart immediately sped up. The sender's name made her freeze. The logistics company. She stared at the screen. For several seconds, she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The message waited unopened. Snow landed softly on her coat. Cars passed. People laughed somewhere nearby. Maya stood completely still beneath that street lamp. She did not open the email until morning. Maya barely slept that night. The email sat inside her phone like a secret. She checked it 3 times to make sure it was still there. Then she put the phone away. Then she checked again. Fear can look strange sometimes. People think fear only comes before failure. Sometimes fear comes before success. Success can be scary too, because if something good is finally happening, Losing it hurts even more. Morning arrived gray and cold. The shelter slowly woke around her. Beds creaked. People coughed. Coffee brewed somewhere down the hall. Maya sat on the edge of her bunk. The borrowed winter coat rested beside her. She looked at the phone, then finally opened the email. Her eyes moved across the screen. Once, then again, then a third time. She needed to be sure. The words stayed the same. The company wanted to offer her the position. Full-time, benefits, health insurance, paid time off, a starting salary higher than anything she had expected. Maya lowered the phone. The room blurred. She didn't realize she was crying until tears landed on her hands. Not loud crying, not dramatic, just quiet tears. The kind that arrive after carrying too much for too long.
Walter walked past. He stopped. "What's wrong?" Maya looked up, then handed him the phone. Walter read the message. His face broke into a smile, a real smile, the kind that reached his eyes. "I'll be damned." Maya laughed through tears. Walter handed back the phone. "I told you." "Told me what?" "People who keep planning, keep believing." For a second, neither spoke. Then Walter nodded. "Go buy yourself a better coat someday." Maya laughed harder. The first day at the new job felt unreal. She arrived 40 minutes early. She wore the nicest clothes she owned. The borrowed coat covered them during the walk. The city looked different that morning. Not because Chicago had changed, because she had. The office overlooked the river. Sunlight reflected off the water. Workers hurried through the lobby, coffee cups in hand, phones pressed to ears. Normal workday sounds, sounds she once took for granted. Rachel met her near the entrance. "Ready?" Maya nodded. "I think so. You'll do fine." The first weeks were exhausting. New systems, new responsibilities, new expectations. Her brain felt full every night. Still, she loved it. She loved having somewhere to be. She loved receiving tasks. She loved solving problems. She loved earning her place. The first paycheck arrived 2 weeks later. She stared at the number for a long time. Then she looked at her account balance. Then she looked again. It wasn't wealth, not even close, but it was stability, and stability felt rich.
That evening, she bought herself a real dinner. Nothing fancy, just a burger, fries, a chocolate shake. She sat alone in a booth. The smell of grilled onions filled the air. Families laughed nearby. A football game played on television. Maya took a bite and smiled. She couldn't remember the last time food tasted that good. The paycheck disappeared quickly. Part of it went toward debt, part toward transportation, part toward storage fees, part toward savings. Still, for the first time in years, money left by choice, not panic. Choice. That felt important. December arrived. Chicago turned cold again. The kind of cold that found every gap in a coat. The kind that climbed into your bones. Maya still lived at the shelter. That surprised some people, but she had a plan. She refused to rush. One emergency could destroy everything. She wanted a foundation first, not just walls, a foundation. Every paycheck followed a budget. Every dollar had a purpose. Every decision mattered. The old Maya sometimes spent emotionally. The new Maya tracked everything. Pain had taught her lessons she never wanted, yet those lessons stayed. One afternoon, Rachel stopped by her desk. "How's everything going?" "Good." "Just good?" Maya smiled. "Really good." Rachel nodded. "We noticed." Those two words mattered. We noticed. People noticed effort. People noticed consistency. People noticed growth. Months passed. Winter became spring. Spring became summer. The shelter eventually became a memory. Not immediately, not easily, but eventually. After 8 months of saving, Maya signed a lease. A small apartment, nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, old building, quiet street. A place entirely her own. The leasing office smelled like fresh paint. When the manager handed her the keys, Maya froze. The keys felt heavier than they should have. Metal. Tiny pieces of metal. Yet somehow they carried years of meaning. "You okay?" the manager asked. Maya nodded. "Yeah," but her voice cracked. The manager smiled kindly. "Congratulations." Maya stepped into the apartment alone. Sunlight streamed through a window near the living room. A simple window, nothing special. Most people would barely notice it. Maya stood staring for several minutes. Then she remembered the notebook, the entry, the dream. I want a place with a window again. She laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Sometimes life circles back in strange ways. That night she sat on the floor. No furniture yet, just a sleeping bag, a pizza, and silence. Beautiful silence. No shelter noise, no strangers talking, no waiting list, no uncertainty about where she would sleep. Just peace. The apartment felt empty. It also felt full of possibility, full of dignity, full of tomorrow. The following weekend, Ethan helped move items from storage. The storage unit looked smaller somehow, maybe because Maya had grown. Boxes filled the back of his truck. Old photos, books, kitchen supplies, pieces of a life waiting patiently.
Ethan lifted a box into the truck. You know something? What? I always knew you'd get here. Maya shook her head. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. You worried plenty. That's different. She laughed. Maybe it was. When they reached the apartment, Ethan stood near the window. This place is nice. It is. You earned it. Maya looked around. Simple walls, simple floors, simple life. Yet she felt richer than she ever had in her townhouse, because she understood the value now. Nothing was automatic, nothing was guaranteed. Everything mattered. The months kept moving. Work improved, responsibilities increased, new opportunities appeared. Maya earned a promotion, then another. Not overnight, not through luck, through consistency, through showing up, through caring. The habits from homelessness followed her. She arrived early, stayed prepared, made backup plans, saved money, wrote goals, kept learning. The notebook never disappeared. 1 page became 10, 10 became 50. The dreams changed, the habit remained. 3 years after starting the program, Maya managed a small team. 5 employees reported to her. One of them had recently experienced homelessness. Another had survived eviction. Maya recognized the look in their eyes, the caution, the fear, the need to prove themselves. She never forgot where she came from, not once. One afternoon, she visited the nonprofit that changed her life. The same brick building, the same classrooms, the same hallways. Karen still worked there. She smiled the moment she saw Maya. Look at you. Maya laughed. Look at you. They hugged, then walked through the building together. Students filled classrooms. New faces, new stories, new beginnings. Karen pointed toward a group. They remind me of someone. Maya smiled. I know. A young woman sat near the back, focused, determined, tired, hopeful. Maya recognized that look immediately. She once wore it herself. Karen asked if she would speak to the class, just for a few minutes. Maya agreed. She stood before the students. The room grew quiet. Rows of faces watched her. Some hopeful, some skeptical, some exhausted. She understood all of them. I used to sit where you're sitting. A few heads lifted. I lived in a shelter. Nobody spoke. I thought my life was over. Silence. I was wrong. She told them the truth, not a polished version, the real version. The failed interviews, the debt, the fear, the waiting, the work, the setbacks, the small wins, everything. When she finished, nobody clapped immediately. People just sat quietly, thinking, feeling. Then applause slowly filled the room. One student approached afterward, the same young woman from the back row. Can I ask something? Sure. How did you keep going? Maya thought for a second, then smiled. I didn't always feel strong. The young woman listened carefully. I just kept showing up. That answer seemed to land, because it was true.
The biggest victories rarely arrive through giant moments. They arrive through repeated, ordinary ones. Years continued passing. Life settled. Debt disappeared. Savings grew. The apartment became a home. Not because of money, because of peace. There were framed photos on walls now, plants near the window, books on shelves, laughter in rooms. Life, real life. One Sunday afternoon, Maya sat near that same window. Rain tapped softly against the glass. Coffee steamed from a mug beside her. The notebook rested in her lap. Older now, worn, beloved. She turned pages slowly. Past dreams, past fears, past promises. Then she reached an old entry. "You're still here." The words looked simple, almost childish, yet they carried everything. Every cold night, every rejection, every meal skipped, every application submitted, every reason to quit, every reason not to. She closed the notebook, then looked at her reflection in the window. For years, she avoided mirrors, avoided reflections, avoided herself. Now she looked directly. The woman staring back seemed familiar again, not because she was successful, because she was whole. That was the difference. Success felt different than people imagine. It wasn't the paycheck, not really. It wasn't promotions, not risk thought. Success was knowing where she'd sleep. Success was opening the refrigerator and finding food. Success was calling her brother without shame.
Success was recognizing herself again. That was the real victory. A few weeks later, Maya cleaned out an old closet. Near the back, she found the borrowed winter coat. The same oversized coat, the same stubborn zipper, the same worn sleeves. She held it carefully. Memories flooded back. Bus stations, shelter bunks, library computers, cold mornings, long walks, hard years. The coat had witnessed all of it, including the exact moment things began changing. She folded it gently, then carried it to the nonprofit. Karen met her near the front desk. Maya handed over the coat. Karen smiled. "Donating?" Maya nodded. "Someone else needs it now." Karen touched the sleeve. "I'm sure they do." Maya looked around the building one last time. Students moved through hallways. Conversations echoed. Hope lived here. Real hope. The kind built with effort. The kind built with opportunity. The kind built with people willing to help others stand. Then Maya walked outside. The sun warmed the sidewalk. The city buzzed around her. Cars passed. Trains rattled overhead. Chicago sounded alive. She smiled and kept walking. The truth is that most people carry battles nobody sees. Some battles happen in shelters. Some happen in offices. Some happen inside hearts that look perfectly fine from outside. What matters is not whether you fall. People fall, every day. What matters is whether you leave a small light on yourself when everything gets dark. A notebook, a goal, a promise.
Something. Anything. Because hope rarely arrives as a rescue. Most times it arrives as one more step, then another, until one day you look back and realize you walked farther than you ever believed possible. And maybe that's what people need most. Not proof that life will be easy, not proof that everything works out perfectly, just proof that a hard season doesn't get the final word. Because the person you become tomorrow may already be fighting for you today. What promise have you made to yourself that still deserves one more chance? The story is now complete.